Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Nate and the Mutts here again. So we're just going to talk briefly on how to get your dogs when they're barking. This isn't excessively, this is just at known objects or things there, but we're going to use the same principle for dogs who bark at pretty much anything, whether it's a butterfly, a leaf falling, a car down the road, a noise, a cow, whatever your situation may be. So the way that I do that is, it's going to sound weird at the start, but I encourage the dog. So I actually say, good dog. Oh, very good. You might have heard every time they've barked at me, I said, oh, good dog, good dog. And the reason for that is, if they're trying to alert you of something, they only really bark for 5 reasons. Because there's something there that they don't know, there's something there that they do know, they're bored, they want attention, or there's, you know, that out of the ordinary, not quite certain of anything, figuring it out, maybe something happened, maybe it didn't. So once we know that that's their only real reasons for barking, if we acknowledge each of those with its own individual word, and we can take a guess, because we're inside, you know, you're asleep at night or whatever it is. Out here, for example, it's probably going to be the kangaroos, right? Probably the kangaroos jumping in the paddock next door or things along those lines. So if you regularly see her barking at there, say, oh, it's just the kangaroos, good girl, good, just the kangaroos. She'll have an association with, you know, that noise when you say that word. If it's a car next door, when you're there, oh, it's just next door, or it's just Bob, or it's just whatever else it is. When they hear Bob coming home, instead of them having to alert us all the time of that known noise, we're now acknowledging, yep, I know that's him, thank you, good girl. If they continue barking after that, you ask them to come, right? If there's something there, you know that different level of bark where they're really being assertive, and that's a whole different exception that we all know. So, but they're just barking, bark, 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 stop, bark, 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 maybe, yeah, that sort of thing. That's my point. Thank you. So basically that's sort of what's going on. Good boy, good girl. It's okay, just Nate. Oh, very good, good come. Good girl. Yeah, good come. Oh, very good. And then if you ask them to come back after every single time they bark, oh, it's just next door, just the possums, just the kangaroos, good come, they'll get used to barking once or twice and then coming. Now what you've got to do though, like learning to ride a bike, it's hard at the start, but once you know, is when they then continue to bark, is go out there and say, leave the possums, leave the car, leave the whatever else it is. That's not, okay, I've got it, right? Inside now, back on your bed, go to sleep, or if they're outside now, lay down somewhere, you know, whatever it may be, leave that object. If they continue looking at it, that's when we're going to mention the timeout spots. Sort of look at it like traffic lights, red, green, and amber in the middle, okay? So red means we're going to have a spot over there, right, with, I would just stick digging big girl. I'd stick a garden stake, whatever else over there in the ground, right, with a bit of chain, because when they get tied up, they're going to eat through a rope, right, and just because they can, they get frustrated, so they'll eat through it. So just get a bit of chain that's a couple of meters long, make a little like you've got down the back over there, like a little tin roof sort of thing. Have it against the shipping container, maybe it's probably easier, you know, for that sort of thing, but have that as their red. Right? So they don't want to come back, they don't want to sit down, they don't want to listen. You get a lead, clip the lead on them, right? Go for a walk over there, say to them, when I ask you to come, when I ask you to leave the kangaroos, when I ask you to not fight with your brother, don't chew the shoes, don't chew the ground, whatever you dig the ground, whatever you want to say, if you say that to them when they're in that red spot, they'll associate that action with being there, right? Then if you've got an area when they're being okay, they're just starting to be silly or barking, say, okay, lay down. They don't want to lay down near you, which is green. That's okay, you're staying here. Then you'll have an area in this yard, right, where they can come out to, they're still sort of a part of the family, but they're not really, because they can't see you and they can't be near you and things, which is sight, as you're aware, is one of their biggest things. If they can see you, they feel more comfort. So once they're being really silly, now when she starts to go, the mum dog, is it Pup?
Yep,
is it? Yeah, she's over there. So when she goes in between and runs at the other ones, right, it's going to be hard at the start, okay, but you set them up for success. Because you know she's going to be the one who's going to be a brat, get a long bit of rope. You can have a rope for this bit because she's not going to be left with it, you know, and leave her over there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes when you're in that red spot, bring her back. If she was barking at another dog, if she was chewing shoes, whatever it is, bring her to that object, bring her to near where she was barking or near the other dog. If they get along fine, she doesn't react negatively or things along those lines, then she can come into here. And she lays down with you for 30 seconds, right? Then from there, you say, okay, go play doing it. If she goes straight back to the dog, to the stuff she was chewing, to the area she was barking, she goes straight back to red. And as you're walking over there, and as she's there, say, look, I don't want to put you in red. But if you can't listen, you can't be, you're part of the family, but you can't be with us, because that's annoying. The barking, the biting, the chewing, the digging, the jumping. They've got to have stuff to do over there, though. This is the key. When they're in timeout, when they're in their red spot or whatever else it may want to be, or reset spot's what I like to think of it, it just resets them. Let them know that that action equals that result, right, of whatever it is. So when they're barking at night, just the kangaroos, okay, thank you. No, one night of tied up over there on red, guess what? The kangaroo thing will be one quick tight bark. But you've got to reward it. Good kangaroos, thank you, very good. Good come. Oh, very good. Good leave the kangaroos, thank you. Then if there's something there, you've got to get up, right? That's the only negative when you're doing it this way. If they're barking properly, you've got to get up with a flashlight, even just to pander to their needs. You know there's nothing there, but they're saying there really is. Have a look, then come back and then say, on your spot, go to sleep. If they don't go back to the spot, back over to red. Or another one, it doesn't even have to be that far because they're used to being with you. Have one for that for there, but maybe that post, right, over near that corner, because you can just put like a little bit of tin across the top as a sun thing. Yeah, not in real bad weather and things like that, but they also need to, when they come back, if they're not behaving, like you've got your cage with the trailer, they need to have an area like that, and I'll help you build some stuff. We'll get some things from the tip, like other screen doors and stuff, that you can have folding that attach and unclip, but attached to the outside of it, so you can use the bottom of the trailer as well, and the side of the trailer with actually using minimal amounts of sheet, because you just, the bottom's one, another spot, and then it's just one big sheet coming off this side in a V, and then there's, so you've got two sheets basically, and it covers, you've got two more cages and stuff, and you just get to rotate, and they go into there, you're in there, just to give them that time away, knowing that, oh, if I do that, or if I'm extra pushy, and the other dogs will see it as well. The ones that are being either picked on, pushed out of the road, just being puppies, but the ones that are having it will be more confident because they know. And I encourage dobbing. So whenever the dogs come back to you, they're not allowed to wrestle, right, in near you, right? They just separate them for there. And if they come back and show me that another dog's being naughty, good dobbing. You give them the butt scratches, you know, all that really happiness, and show them that the other dog's going in there, they'll all dob on each other. They dob all the time. So then they get more attention with us. And the ones that are being silly, instead of having to start a fight or react, they'll then come to you first, knowing the other one's going to get put away. And that's as weird as it seems, but they figure it out, and they understand fairness. They understand, well, that dog did that, and now it's over there. You know, so it's basically, once they get it and you get a way that they know, naughty action, first of all you go here, then you go there, then you go over there. They'll do anything not to go over there. And even if it just come back, sit down, you know, relax. They're not allowed to be in trouble when they come. Okay, no matter what they're doing, whenever they come back, it's good boy, good come, good come. You can still address the fighting, the digging, the biting, the jumping, whatever else, after you've got them in a close area and they've said good boy, good come. Because if they get in trouble when they, or get yelled at to come back here, as we've all done, but then they're not going to want to, right? Each of these dogs also needs its own individual timeout word. So you're not just saying, no, don't do that, and they all go, but I'm not doing anything. So you'll be able to look at the one that's staring at the other dog with its tail in the air and focusing and being rude or interrupting and pushing him out of the road. And at home, I give a word, like one of the dog's names is Luke, okay? And so his timeout word is Skywalker, just because I've had so many over the years, I've got to think of names to remember. One's called Banjo. His timeout word is Patterson. So if I say, Banjo, do you want to go to Patterson? Doesn't affect any of the other dogs. When I say to Cody, the wolfhounds, you'll go to Siberia or the tundra. The tundra is when she's really in trouble, and just from, I figured she's cold, I just needed to pick a word for each of them so that the other ones know that it's being addressed and that it's not them. They'll continue. Most of mine are sitting there. They'll see one doing it, and you know, and Jesse and my little border collie Jess that I've got, he's just in the box because he goes to school talks or whatever else. So I say to him, stop your behaviour, and you'll see on the videos, or go in the box. They'll put themselves in these spots because if they put themselves in those timeout areas, I don't close the gates. If I've got to walk over there with them, I'll close the gates, right? And I'm an airhead at times. I get distracted by pretty butterflies. So for me, that could be 20 minutes, an hour, could be 3 hours. You know what I mean? So they don't really want to do that. They'll choose to go and put themselves in these timeout spots, same as yours will, because they'll know, okay, I don't want to be tied up over there. I prefer just to hang out here. Very good. Good, Jesse. Very good. Good boy. I know, it's the iPad. Yeah. Yeah. Good boy. That was scary, was it? I know. How's that? So yeah, so once they've got a basic understanding of their timeouts and their consequences for their action, when they're barking and you ask them to stop it and to relax, thank you, good boy, good girl, okay, that's enough, then they do it again. Now it's more, stop it, okay, leave that, that's not your job, leave it, finished, then come back to here, as that's their positive. No, you don't want to leave it, walk out to wherever they are with the lead, have a lead there ready to go, walk out with that and say, okay, your choice, not mine. And you'll hear in a lot of my talks or the videos I make, I say to them, good decision. Because when they do, like you'll see them looking at stuff and I'll say, well, that's a good decision. And they sit there and then your choice. And then they understand that praise is sort of like being given a piece of food, sort of like a pat, sort of like an eye contact towards them by just saying, make a choice, good decision. You know, I'd leave that dog alone if I was you. Now, they don't understand the individual words we're saying, but as I mentioned before, they understand our thoughts or our emotions that are behind it. And if I'm verbalizing instead of just don't, sit, stay, come, doing it, they're not getting a lot to read. Whereas if you're saying, leave the dog alone, you're really frustrating, stop going near that dog. Do you want to go to your spot? You can go to timeout. I don't care. You in timeout's a lot easier for me. Leave the dog alone or sit down. That's your options. Leave the dog or sit down. No, in your timeout. And if they don't walk themselves there, then you clip them on. If they walk in that direction and they go and lay down there, let them lay there for 5 seconds. Let themselves out, right? Let them do that. That's further down the track. But later down the track, you're going to be able to say, stay there, right? And don't move. Initially, for them to, when they're going to start being naughty, instead of continuing to fight or be bossy, it's not even bad. It's just, it's not helping the dynamics of your group, right? And once you can control this bit, he's going to have some socialization and stuff. Come back, good to go. I would recommend we try to get him rehomed. Right? On a property, on a farm, on somewhere, but out here someone's looking for a working dog that lives with them, a single guy, things like that, okay? Also, I would say over 40 person to adopt them, because no kids under 10 for that dog. I wouldn't have as a regular interaction as a desire. Just, it's not that they can't get along with them, not that they can't do things, but we're looking for optimal homes, right, where they're going to be there. He can have another dog because it's not going to have the same issue of the hierarchy and the things along that lines, and you'll see him living with mine and sleeping on the bed with all the other mazillions of dogs. So it's just having that previous known, for lack of a better word, nemesis, right, that you've got that build-up history of having a bad day, and you know every time that they're at work, oh, this is going to suck. Things like that. So everyone here, the rest of them are in harmony and living like in a good ecosystem. And if it's just one to do that, he'll get the opportunity to address and adjust his behaviour. He'll also not have to, he'll learn exactly what we're saying here, right, for the same things with different words. You can each have different words, you can each have your own individual word. Not everyone has to say the same thing, because they treat each of us individually. They treat us own. They know our own different accents, different tones, different vocalizations, stutters, things along those lines. They pick it up. So basically, he's going to learn a new dialect. They're going to learn a new punishment system. That's not really. It's not really that bad, but that's what I forgot to say. So when they're over there, they've got to have things to do. Right? They've got to have toys, a bone, a bit of wood, something to do, because if they're frustrated, they're bored or whatever, and we'll also use some wire, and it doesn't have to be hard wire because it's not restricting them there forever, they're on a chain, but to stop the other ones going over there and annoying them, sort of saying, ha, you're in trouble, and or taking the things that we give them. So if you send the kid to their room and don't give them anything to do, they're going to get up to mischief. Right? If they're possessive over bones, over toys, over objects, and want to fight with the other dogs, you say to them, well, you can have these bones, you can have these toys. If that's your most important thing, you can have those, but you don't get to be a part of us. And when you prioritise, when the other dogs can have that, or you don't want those toys, then you can come back. But if that's your most important thing where you feel you've got to fight, you can have it. So they don't lose that stealing from you, but you can have it over there. And when your behaviour adjusts and comes back, and then normally once you let him out, same thing that she would do with the food bowl. As soon as you let them out, they go somewhere there, another dog goes to walk near these toys, the bones, the whatever was in there that they wanted to protect, it'll run straight back towards them again. So then I go, okay, they're still important, so you stay in there. If they're that important to you that you've got to come and guard them or protect them, if it's important, carry it, pick it up. Whatever the dogs have in front of them, it's called a good steal or a bad steal for me, right? No other dog's allowed to take an object from another dog, so it stops fights, okay? Like kids, if they're playing with a toy, don't just snatch it off them. But if that toy falls outside of their paws parameter, however far their paws or their mouth, if it's next to their paws, you're allowed to steal it, right? It's a good steal, but you're not allowed to take anything inside of there. It builds confidence and trust so that they can have their bones and they can have all their toys. If another one comes and steals it, that dog who steals it goes straight to yellow, right? No discussion, no anything else. You've broken the rules in here, you're straight to yellow. When they bark and they moan and they complain, you got option 2, straight to red, which they will, and they'll sulk and they'll cry, or they'll start. Digging's not an issue for here, but they'll start digging over there, right? And just because they can, because they've got the tantrums. Give them something to do. Get some bacon bits, get some whatever else, stick it in the holes, and say it's better than fighting. It's better than stealing or biting. If that's your thing, if you've got to smoke, you've got to drink, you've got to do that. Do it. If they make a noise or upsetting them or staring at the other dogs, or any of the other dogs are staring at them, whichever dog's staring at them, they go to their yellow, maybe over there, or not near the front gate. Don't do it near the front gate just because it's people coming past and you want them to have it's sort of a safe zone for them. You've got good corners down the back, just in the corner of your yard sort of things.
Just over there.
Yeah.
That's what I did with Brownie before when he came here, because he's biting Andrew.
Yep.
He's not biting me.
Yeah.
But every time he tried to bite Andrew, and I put on a rope and tied up in a corner over there.
Yep, perfect.
That's how he behaved. He's not biting now.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same thing, right, that we're doing here. We're just giving it some steps so it's easy for us and them to follow. But that's great, and you've inadvertently created it so that you can interact by doing it, because he knows that action equals that result.
Yeah.
Right? And it's going to be the same, and it works so quick. It's so much quicker than what you really think. It might take longer for him to get used to me and the other dogs and stuff than normal, but generally it's only a couple of days. The problem in my environment, they're all good, and I only ever bring new ones in when the other ones can be controlled and moved and all that sort of thing, as you'll see on the videos. Because if you've got one dog that's you're not able to get to stop or to sit or to do that, how are you expecting the new ones or anyone else? If one kid's just running around the room or the household and throwing things, you can't expect the other ones to behave. It's sort of, and the thing for me, give that kid's obviously bored, whatever's, when the dog, if they're causing trouble, they're obviously got more going on in their head, good, bad or otherwise. So you give them other outlets, right? With kids, you say, go to your room. If you just give them a bit of paper and a pen, they're probably going to draw on the desk, right? Or the wall. So if we know that, if they're going to choose stuff, get hypo, whatever else, good gal, we'll get coloured paper, stick coloured paper on the wall with crayons and encourage them to draw on the wall. And then once they've done that and it's out of their system, the same as you want to chew your toys, if that's your thing, do that, but in our way, and chew the stuff we want and doing the things we want, because it'll roll down. Once you've got one, and the same sort of thing with him, it's exactly the same. He's just doing it in a different level. Once you've got one, the others think that they have to then do it, and they've got to start deciding on who does what and whatever else. And it's just so much easier that you can say to them, each their own words, stop it, or go and put yourself into, Xena, warrior. Xena, go to your warrior spot. And then everyone else, when they're there, whenever another dog's near you and you're saying a timeout, make it a big deal. So they're looking. That's another reason why I think they dob. Because whenever I say the word, all the others get butt scratches on whoever's in trouble. Righto. So take care, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from Nate and the Mutts. It's a long-winded version, as you know I do. It's under 20 minutes though, which is surprising for me. On how to get your dogs to stop barking at random or unknown objects, giving them a timeout or consequences for their actions, situation, sort of like traffic lights, red, orange, amber or green. That's 4 I know, but both colours, different countries. So if they've got an understanding of that action equals that consequence, also with if they're protecting objects or doing things that are unwanted, they'll make a choice by not just giving them you're in trouble every time, giving them an option of which level of trouble they go to. Has worked for thousands of dogs with me, only working and specialising with ones that bite and attack. Take care, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from Nate and the Mutts.